Welcome back to Aquatic Australia. I'm your host, Sharky Jones, and today we're diving from motor vessel Belleton Jack. Today our first dive is on one of my favourite reefs, Crystal Palace. This reef is riddled with caves and caverns. The visibility today is exceptional, close to 20 metres. However, there is the usual strong swell here. The boat is anchored perfectly over one of the large craters, which also leads to one of several large caves. We enter through one cavern entrance, which leads to a cave which I call the Moon Pool, with light streaming in from the ceiling. A note of caution though, this passage arguably exceeds being a swim-through and verges on cavern diving. Recreational divers should not go into overhead environments. Penetrate vertically so that you always have access to the surface in an emergency. To the right of the tunnel is a lower level with a tight passage leading to another cavern. Again, a caution, this tunnel is narrow, and while it still has natural light and counts as a cavern, its restriction slows access to the surface. It should only be attempted by suitably trained, equipped and experienced divers. Don't try this at home. The tunnel exits into a crater with lots of ledges and another tunnel leading to yet another crater. Crayfish, or western rock lobster, hide in the ledges. Despite being a very popular site, there is a lot of habitat and crays can still normally be found. Having explored the crater, we head back under the rim and then through the new tunnel into the next part of the reef. This leads us out into a gully. The top of the reef is in about 7 metres, the crater floor was about 12 metres, as is the gully. Swimming down the gully, we pass underneath an arch, sheltering in the shade the usual school of bullseyes that always hang around in caves. The gully in turn leads down to the side of the reef and the sand, and with its edge on the sand at about 16 metres. We turn right, heading south down the eastern edge of the reef. Soon we spot a large cave entrance. The inside of the cave is impressive, multiple entrances and vaulted ceilings emitting streaming columns of glittering blue light. Inside the cave, schools of fish flit around like flocks of birds. It is as though we're weightless and flying inside a large church. The passage to the left of the cave looks like a bear in profile. The entrance to the passage is guarded by a large orange sponge. Floating weightless in a three-dimensional environment, we have effortless and complete ease of movement. The exit of the tunnel and the bear cave takes me to another crater. While I hover at the mouth of the cave, I'm treated to a rare sight as a school of kingfish, a respected game fish, swim overhead. From the crater outside, the large cave looks like a giant rock bridge. Ascending from the crater, I pop up to the surface slowly to fix my position relative to the boat. Descending back down to 6 meters in the top of the reef, we swim back to the boat and carry out a safety decompression stop while we swim. Crystal Palace is one of my favourite dive sites in Perth. It was here I saw my first sea dragon. Sadly, there were none today. At the back of the boat, on its right-hand side, the barbecue is already set up. We surface to the smell of sausages sizzling for lunch. Our second site is Arnie's Reef, a series of 5 low plateaus of limestone rock looking like pillows arrayed on the seabed. It was a pretty enough sight, especially with the great visibility, but was fairly unremarkable. There were many small ledges, but few crays. In this ledge, however, I found a starfish, pretty but fairly common. On top of one of the rocks, I spotted something more interesting, a nice sea fan or gorgonian. These are soft corals and animals, not plants. A nice-sized dewfish swims by. These are one of the most sought-after table fish in Western Australia. My buddy Chris swims past with his video rig and powerful lights, while 2 crayfishers scour the reef looking for crays. One of them, Colin, waves to the camera. Pausing, relaxed, I lie on my back underneath the boat at 14 meters and watch my bubbles fly up, chased by a curious fish. In a crack between 2 large rocks, we find a small cave and a large school of the ubiquitous bullseyes. Navigating back to the boat, we ascend the line and carry out our safety stops before heading home. Let's take a look at the still photos from the day.